Hey everybody, welcome to episode 73. Bear with me today. I'm starting to get something going on. My son started to get a cold over the weekend, and he was here, so he's probably passed it on to me, of course. 'Tis the season. But anyways, I might have to pause it a couple times to do stuff, you know what I mean? But anyways, today I want to talk about, I'm going to keep the music thing going. It seems like that's the popular thing to do. And I got a lot to talk about music, trust me. And I'm going to go over another one of my favorite bands that kind of is from the same time period. It's just interplays, and I mentioned them briefly in the one Kiss video talking about the concert, and that's Cheap Trick. At that time, like I said, when I saw that Kiss concert, I didn't know who they were. It was 1979. You know, that's the year the Dream Police album came out. And you know, like I said, it didn't. I think I might have noticed stuff on stage, but you know, I was so young at the time. So let's fast forward to when I kind of discovered them for the first time. We're gonna go to 1983. Remember, this is the year of what's the movie called? Return of the Jedi came out, you know, in May, and I was at, where was I at? First I saw a preview for the movie Rock and Roll. Now I didn't look up when Rock and Roll came out, but I know it came out that year, and I know I went and saw it that year with my dad, and we brought some of the I don't know if my one friend with me. I know one of my friends went with me, and it might have been my birthday. I know there was an issue with heavy metal with my birthday, and like I said, I can't get my dates exactly straight on that, but it's kind of here nor there. So I went to see Rock and Roll. Before I even went to see the movie, we were up at Meadowbrook Mall at and there in Rochester Hills on Adams and Walton Boulevard, and this is back when Meadowbrook Mall was still there. Anyways, there was that drugstore, kind of party store on the corner. Now, I think it was just called the corner drugstore. I think was what the name of it was. I can't remember what the actual name of it was. But my dad would, my dad would go to any party store or whatever, and pick up a 6-pack of Schlitz or something, or Curves, and we probably had Aladdin's Castle, most likely. Is probably looking for Star Wars figures, most likely, and at the KB toy store there. And so, anyways, I came out of there, and my dad wanted to go down to the drugstore. Now, that's the same drugstore that previous year I found the G.I. Joe #1 on that same spinner rack, and that's when I picked up the very first G.I. Joe comic. So this is a year later, and I'm looking on the rack, and they have a Rock and Roll comic book put out, and I'll flip to that real quick here. Let's see here. That's the albums of Cheap Trick. Let's flip over to okay, so I don't currently have it. I've had it twice in my life. That original time I bought it, who knows where it went, and then I got it again in the 90s, and then I sold, I think it went in that sale, my mom selling all that stuff in that garage sale, but I haven't acquired it again. I don't have to. I've got this, a nice CBR of it, this thing kind of caught me right off guard. I was like, oh, Rock and Roll, what? And I started flipping through it, and of course it's a film comic, the scenes from the movie to make up the film, make up the panels, and I just loved this character, and I loved that outfit and that guitar, and I was just like, oh, this is so cool. It's like, I had to have this. And then, my dad's like, or whatever, he threw it up on the counter there with the Schlitz, or whatever it was. My dad, Miller High Life, that was another one my dad used to drink a lot. Anyways, so I put this up on the table, and then, I took it home, and I was reading through it. And I started drawing pictures out of it. But one thing that kind of caught my attention in the very back was, sorry, flipping through the whole comic. Back here they kind of had like a like a making of the movie type of like little feature in the back of the comic, which is cool, by the way. I mean, I just love seeing the different versions of Mach and all that stuff. And then, but what caught my attention, of course, was this rock and roll and roll. The music of rock and roll. I still to this day, I don't know why they never put out a rock and roll. It says they did. If you look at the credits at the end of the movie, I've looked at this 100 times. It says, rock and roll soundtrack available on like Vista Records or something like that, or I can't remember what it was. Some record company, Arista or something like that. But I've looked it up countless times. It never existed. It never got pressed to vinyl that I know of, or cassette, at the time or whatever. This is 1983, so it's before CDs. But this movie, and of course when I eventually saw it, I was kind of blown away by it. I just loved the music in it. It was just awesome, and most of attributing that music, obviously Debbie Harry doing Angel. I think she did her I don't know if she did her speaking voice. I know she does the singing voice of Angel. But the other awesome thing was Cheap Trick. Now I don't know if Robin Zander does the voice of Omar, which is the main character down there. I'm not sure if he does. It sounds an awful lot like him. I'd have to look up that. I don't know why I don't know that already. I've seen this movie over 1,000 times. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. But I'll have to look on that one. So, but right away this picture caught my attention, and it's just like, who are these guys? Cheap Trick, and I just love that name. And I was like, oh, I love these guys. It's like I like the guy with the glasses and the hat and the crazy sweater. He's really neat. And then of course when I saw the movie, I was kind of like. Is the music, blew me away, and I was like, oh, I love this, and it's like, oh, Cheap Trick does the music in it and everything, and I had to seek them out. This is '83, so it was, I think it was the summer the movie came out. I'm pretty sure it was a summer movie. I think it came out after Jedi, I believe. But and obviously, there's no VCR until a couple of years later when we got a VCR, a year and a half later, I think. And then I wanted to, there's no way to, the comic was the only way to but you couldn't get the music. And I said there's no soundtrack. I don't remember seeking a soundtrack at that time, because I wasn't really sure, even though I knew soundtracks sort of existed, I didn't get soundtrack crazy until the Transformers the movie came out, and that's when I went back and found the the heavy metal soundtrack. Which again, they're on the heavy metal soundtrack too. They did 2 tracks on that. Put myself back on full camera here. But I'm pretty sure you guys saw that I got this. I finally picked this up. I think I saw it and showed it in the other video. But as you can see, it's funny because, and also this album is pretty much most of my favorite bands. Blue Oyster Cult, Cheap Trick, Journey. I mean, this soundtrack is I would say it's like the soundtrack of my life kind of thing. There's Rush isn't on there, Kiss isn't on there, Yes isn't on there, but for the most part, most of the straight up rock stuff on Blue Oyster Cult, Cheap Trick, and Journey are 3 of my favorite bands of all time. I love Nazareth too. I love Grand Funk Railroad. Devo's on there. But so that kind of solidified, as I learned that these things are happening, I love this band. So I went into Full Moon Records, because I was buying records at Full Moon, and this was when they were across from the high school before they moved downtown. And I want to say this was after Shout at the Devil. I got Shout at the Devil and Pyromania and Metal Health, because I got those albums over when I was in 5th grade. But I want to say I got them after it. But maybe I got them before it. I'm not sure. I don't think I got them that summer. Like I said, I was pretty much listening to that Return of the Jedi, story of Return of the Jedi over and over and over again on tape. I really wasn't listening to a lot of music during the summer, plus I was outside a lot. and playing with my toys and stuff. But I eventually got a couple of albums, and so I ended up getting I got 2 albums by them. The first, and they're both on cassette. The first one was was it One on One, or was Next Position? I was thinking it was Next Position, Please. It was this lineup too. Tom Peterson actually wasn't in the band, the bass player at the time. They had this other bass player. I can't remember what his name is, but it might have been One on One. Well, no, I think it was Next Position, Please, because on the cover, Rick Nielsen's holding that guitar of himself that he had made, that custom guitar. And of course, that blew my mind. It was like, I want one of those. I want to play guitar. And again, I wanted to play guitar, but I didn't really get into it. I mean, not like my son, my son, 5th grade, he was all about the guitar. And of course I encouraged that, but and like I said, my dad would have bought one and he would have encouraged it. I don't think he wouldn't have. I just didn't. I guess I was just too wrapped up in my toys and whatnot at the time, so I kind of just went by the wayside. But I liked him, and, I liked all the guys in the band, but Rick Nielsen was and here's the thing. Let me pull up one of the albums here. His Next Position, Please, right here. This is the album. Oops, you can't see it because I don't have it on the screen. There we go. I also remember not really liking the album that much. I mean, it was okay, but there was nothing. I could hear the guy's voice, hear Robin Zander's voice, and could tell it was the Cheap Trick guy. But I was kind of like, it was like, I don't know, they just didn't have really any standout hits off this song. I don't even know what the singles were off this album. I think they were I Can't Take It. I Can't Take It. I think I Can't Take It was a single. I'm not sure what the other one was, if there even was another single off this album. But the cover, obviously, it's like, that's the band. It's the band from the comic book. And then there's that guitar. It's like, oh, this is so cool. So I got this album on cassette. The one with that beige plastic piece, it just kind of had the cover on it. And then I also got on cassette Dream Police, because the guy at Full Moon said, oh, you should get this album too. This is a great album. Get Dream Police. And I was like, oh, it had a cool name to it. And the cover was like, there's the guy. I can see him there. Okay, I'll get this one. And of course, this one had Dream Police on it. Way of the World, Voices. This is a great album. Probably one of my favorite of the Cheap Trick albums. So that right now, I've only have 2 Cheap Trick albums currently, and one of them, of course, is Dream Police. Now, this is a vintage copy, and I believe I looked this up. This is a first pressing too, which is crazy. It's in pretty good condition. The cover is immaculate condition. When I ended up getting this on LP from Sam's Jams there in high school, because I ended up getting pretty much all of the Cheap Trick albums at that point on album. My cover, it's a gatefold too. My cover was in so-so condition, wasn't great. But when I first saw this as a used one, I was like, wow, I've never seen a cover in such a great condition. So that's why I thought it was a reissue. I looked at it, it's not a reissue. And then I looked in it and I said, what is this? Which is this a first pressing? It is a first pressing. And the record was great. It did have a hairline scratch on, I think it was in Dream Police. Of course, it's always the hit. Whatever the hit is, that's the one, because retards just drop the needle right on the whatever the hit is. I want to hear the hit. Bam! Crash. There goes a scratch every single time. It's like clockwork. Yeah. So, I have this one on LP. I'll get to the other one because it kind of happens a little bit later too, and it's kind of like the second coming, I guess, of my Cheap Trick love. But so I had that album and I listened to it. I loved the album. So that was kind of like, and then as the time went on, the cassettes ended up in that little wood thing, and then it ended up everywhere. We still had them. I think when we moved to the trailer park, I still had those cassettes. I didn't get any other albums by them. it's not that I didn't want to. It just, I still question whether or not I have adult attention deficit disorder. I probably do. However, I don't worry about it, and I'm not really concerned about it. At 50 years old, do I care? Like, I'm ever going to change? So, but obviously, growing up in the 80s, and you really couldn't help it in the 80s because there's just so much stuff, was you would bop from one thing to the other. It's like, oh, I love music, I love comic books, I love toys, I love this, I love that. And then you'd be like, one week you'd be in this, and then the next, and like I said, I had a couple of friends that literally didn't want to play with me anymore because they're like, you're always into something new every week. And it's like music. Oh, I like this band. No, I like this band. I like this band. Now I like this band. It's like, and when I like something, it's like full on, 100% love the thing. That's all I want to, do. And then like a couple of weeks later, or maybe a year later, I just don't care about it that much anymore. Just sweep to the side. What's the new thing? And I kind of struggle with that my whole life, and I kind of calm that down a bit. But I still have, it's still kind of there. But again, at 50 years old, I got 30 years at best left on this planet. Do I really care? And especially as the older you get, it doesn't really matter if, I'm sitting there, drooling all over myself and, my old age going like, I like comic. No, I like, what's my name again? Doesn't really matter. Yeah, so, we'll go back. Let's just take a quick look at there, because this isn't necessarily about a specific album, but this is kind of a cheat trick. There's a lot of like best ofs. I really don't like the way YouTube Music categorizes the albums. Oh, here's singles, but because it lumps every single thing in. As you can see, I was listening to this. I'll get to that. That's awesome. Well, it's not super awesome. I just thought it was awesome because of one song, Day Tripper. I was just listening to it not that long ago, a few minutes ago before I started this video. But I wish they'd take out all the greatest hits and all the compilations and stuff. I don't mind just put it should say album. It should say studio album, because that says singles. So why doesn't it say studio albums, live albums, singles, greatest hits, or compilations? And you can click on them, and then you can see just the studio albums. I hate when they lump this all together. Maybe you can, and I don't know. If anybody knows, let me know. Popularity, alphabetical order, default. Let's just put it in alphabetical for the... I wish, and the other thing is, okay, even if they were going to keep all of them, why can't, by year, sort by year? They've got years on all of these. It's a field, so why don't they can't we order it by year? That way it's obviously goes in order. But probably their most classic albums is probably Dream Police, Live at Budokan. Kiss did Live at Budokan. It seemed like everybody did Budokan back then. But this was a classic. This is where they have like the music video for Surrender and the music video for Surrender, and and I Want You to Want Me. And he screams like, I want you to want me, and all the Japanese girls go crazy. They're huge in Japan. Everybody's big in Japan. Used to have a shirt. I'm a legend in Japan. But anyways, that's a classic album. Their first album's a classic album. Dream Police, obviously. Heaven Tonight is probably my second favorite album, and I had that on LP. I still need to get that on LP, but I ended up getting that during the Sam's Jams years. I'll just call them the Sam's Jams years, or the Tora Tora Tuesday years, or high school. Let's just put it that way. So obviously they kind of came back. They had a comeback, and they got real popular again, and they got real commercially successful in MTV and everything, and that's with Lap of Luxury, which is the other album that I have. This is a used copy, original pressing. It's got somebody who wrote some stupid 3 with a red Sharpie on there. I hate when they do that, but this was kind of a hard album to find, so I was like, I'm not going to pass on it. So here's Lap of Luxury. And of course I even got the single right there. I need to get a single sleeve for it, but I got the single for it in there. That's the single for The Flame. The B-side of that was Through the Night, which I don't believe is on the album. Yeah, Lap of Luxury, probably their most commercially successful album. and this is one probably people let alone. Obviously, it's because of the song "Flame." That's why I bought the single. It had a jacket. I don't know what happened to the jacket. And this is one of those things I recovered from my mom's basement too. When I found that Tangerine Dream Exit album on CD I gave my son, I opened up they had an old record player, and I opened up the record player, and this was sitting on the turntable on the platter, and it had been sitting there for an awful long time. But I looked at it and I was like, it doesn't look like it's in bad shape. I took it back home. I cleaned it, played it. Plays just perfect. It doesn't. I took relatively good care of it back then, and it didn't seem to really take a pounding. So there's the single for that. I think their other singles off here were "Don't Be Cruel," which is a Elvis Presley cover. Elvis Presley cover, I'm pretty sure. "Ghost Town" was like a slower song that was even slower than the Flame. Flame isn't. Flame's like moderate. It's slow to moderate. So yeah. So again, I kind of forgot about Cheap Trick up until this album came out in that video. So I'm watching MTV, and and I knew, at this time I knew about the Cheap Trick or the Rock and Roll movie connection. I knew about the heavy metal movie connection, and then and I saw most of their albums. I'd see them at the record store, like Live at Budokan, Heaven Tonight, stuff like that. So then this album came out, and it came out right about the time I started going to Tora Tuesday, which I believe was second semester of 2008, or it might have been in the summer. No, it was during the school year, so my freshman year in high school. And I saw the video, and I was like, "Hey, it's Cheap Trick." And I was like, "Oh, I like this song." And what's his face? Rick Nielsen's going through his catalog of guitars. He's got the big six necker. He's got that that cool Explorer that he had, and he's going through it. He's playing, like they kept showing with different guitars. Like, oh, I really like Cheap Trick. I need to get that album. So I got this album, and I got this on cassette originally. And then, like I said, then the Tora Tuesday thing started up. I started going down to Sam's Jams, and then I ended up getting this on LP, but not there. Actually, I just bought this from Harmony House in Rochester on LP, and I'm pretty sure that's where I bought the single as well. So this is not my original disc. However, that is my original single there. It's in the... Like I said, I got to get a single sleeve for it at some point. But, yeah, so... also, right around that time, my dad... So this is when we moved out to that other trailer. Dad was taking care of that lady. I probably went over that in my other video, but he said, I said, "Hey, Dad," and it was funny. It was a Sunday. I was like, "Dad," or it was Saturday. Yeah, it was a Saturday. I'm pretty sure. I'll look that one up to be pretty honest. But it was a Saturday or Sunday, because that's usually when I went to my dad's house. Unless it was in the summer, I could have been there during the week. But because that lady was there, remember, it was hard for me to go there. So I said, "Hey, Dad, Cheap Trick's playing I don't know how I knew this, too. I don't think I was getting Metro Times at the time. Or my dad maybe said it to me, and I go, "Hey, Cheap Trick's playing tonight at the Palace of Auburn Hills." And he's like, "You want to go?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "You think it's sold out?" I go, "Maybe." I don't know why he just didn't call, but he goes, "Well, let's just run over there. Let's just go over there and see if we can get tickets. If we get tickets, we'll just stay and watch the concert. If we can't, then we'll just come back home." Okay, sounds logical to me. So we went over to the Palace, to the box office there, and cars were starting to pile into the parking lot. It wasn't too bad. This concert didn't drive my dad crazy. My dad liked this concert, and he was happy we got out of there pretty lickety-split, too. Because that Mustang we had, also carbureted, had a tendency to have issues, too, as well. That was vapor lock was the big thing on that one. And then... So anyways, we got in there, we walked up there, my dad says, "Hey, you got 2 tickets?" And they're like, "Yeah, where do you want to sit?" And I'm going to go. My dad's like, "I don't want to sit up too high," because my dad didn't like heights. And not that the Palace was that high, but he didn't want to be up too high. And I think they put us like, I think we're on the lower bowl, towards the right hand side in the corner, and the stage is here. sorry. So imagine the stage, right? So I'm the stage. I'm looking out at the crowd. We were like right there on the lower bowl, and we were in the riser parts. We weren't on the floor, so we could see a little better. And got tickets. Got right inside. My dad says, "Hey, you want a shirt?" I was like, it was like Christmas. All right. So I got the. I didn't get the Lap of Luxury shirt. I got the shirt where Robin Zander, or not, Rick Nielsen's like it's like a cartoon, like a comic. That's why I wanted it, because it looked like a comic book, and he's like jumping up in the air upside down. I should have looked that up, see if I could find that. I've definitely outgrown that shirt. I think I wore that shirt out because I wanted something to wear to school the next day, because I'm pretty sure it was still in school. I don't think it was the summer. And I was like, I went to the concert, blah, blah. And it's funny because I remember going to high school and talking about it and telling people, hey, I went to see the Cheap Trick concert. Nobody knew who the hell I was talking about. Like, who? Cheap Trick, the band Cheap Trick. Are they new? No, but they have a new album out. And they're like, never heard of them. Even the Burnouts, loved their Metallica and loved their, their whatever, their Iron Maiden and all that stuff. I mean, I like Iron Maiden too, but the thing is, they loved all their heavy metal music. Nobody's like, I never heard of them. Asked like the normal people, never heard of them. My friend, my one friend, the Ruther friend, he knew who they were. But yeah, a lot of people were like, hey, who's that? What's that shirt you're wearing? Cheap Trick? Oh, who are they? And this is like 1988. I don't think it was, even if, let's just say hypothetically the concert was towards the end of 88 and it was into the school year. It would have been first semester, 10th grade, which I don't believe it was. But still, it's 88. I mean, it's, it's just mind-boggling. I think the album might have actually come out in 87? No, 88, so it's 88 right there. So it had come out after the April 88. So, April, May, June. I gotta look up when the concert is. The concert was either before school's out, which, if the album came out that soon, it wasn't pretty far after. But the thing is, I know we moved to Rochester in 89, so I don't think it was, I'm pretty sure that it wasn't, and we were out of that trailer, so it must have been I was probably the summer. I know it was sunny out that day. I don't know if it was hot, but I mean, it might have been the summer. I don't think I was in school, but I remember eventually wearing this shirt to school, and like I said, nobody knew who they were. No, because I remember I said I went to the concert last night to people, so no, it had to have been. It was one of those two, the end of 9th grade and beginning of 10th grade. I'm not going to dwell on it, but yeah, because like I said, I remember wearing the shirt. I remember telling people I went to the concert last night because I thought it was cool, and it wasn't that cool because nobody knew who the hell they were. I think like a couple of girls might know, like, oh, don't they do that song on MTV, The Flame? And that's all they knew, because that's all anybody knew. But yeah, I mean, I loved the band. Like I said, I started going to Tour Tuesday. Then I started getting the albums, and I got this one here, as you can see. This was weird. It was there in the dollar bins. All those albums were $1 because I mean every album they had pretty much was $1 there. But Found All the Parts was an EP, and I didn't know what an EP really was back then. But it was a 10-inch disc. It still had the regular hole, so you still played it at 33 RPM. But it was a 10-inch disc, and it had 4 songs on it. But like I said, it was smaller, and it had that cool. I love that cover. Day Tripper, of course, is a live cover of Day Tripper by the Beatles, which is awesome. That's probably the best song on the album. The other ones are kind of like, okay, they're all right. But I had that one. I could have kicked myself for letting that one go. That's probably hard to get now. It's probably worth some money. It's definitely worth more than $1. Heaven Tonight, like I said, one of my favorites. It's got Surrender on it. On Top of the World, California Man, Auf Wiedersehen, or Wiedersehen, Wiedersehen, sorry. I can't read, nor can I pronounce German very well. Auf Wiedersehen, Sehen, yes, that's how you pronounce it, I guess. Let's see, what was the other one? Heaven Tonight, great. That's just the title track. Stiff Competition. It's got Stiff Competition. It's a great song. Oh, Claire, that's funny. There was a girl I was obsessed with in high school named Claire. That's just kind of funny. I think I probably put two and two together back then too. It just made me think of that when I saw the name Claire. Um, Not a girl I had a snowball's chance in hell with, but I was obsessed with her. Let's see, what do we got here? So there's Heaven Tonight. I ended up getting both of these albums, and I got One on One. Actually, I liked One on One better because it had If You Want My Love. If you want my love, you got it. And She's Tight. She's Tight. That's a good song. So that was a little bit better album with that same bass player, than not Tom Peterson. Like I said, these are all spread. I got the original album on it with Hello Kitties on it. That's a good track. Busted ended up coming out in '90. And I did get Busted, and they did have the videos on MTV. Although I'll get to them and get to that in a second, because that brings me to something else that I had got at that time that I was obsessed with and kept listening to over and over and over again. But some of these other albums I got, like, Standing on the Edge, The Doctor, like these 80s albums, I really didn't like them that much. And even In Color, I wasn't a huge fan of this album either. It's okay. I mean, it's not terrible. It's got I Want You to Want Me is on it. Sorry. My throat's getting kind of scratchy. I'll probably make up the distance here, but my nose and it's somewhere right now. It's not necessarily my nose. It's not necessarily my throat. It doesn't know where it wants to go at the moment. But I did pull up the heavy metal soundtrack. Just let's show you here. Their songs were Reach Out and I Must Be Dreamin'. I think that's I Must Be Dreamin's during like the chase sequence in the Stern segment, and then Reach Out is Reach Out, do 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 do. I can't remember which segment it was in. One of them, obviously. But yeah, I just pulled that up just so you guys could see that. So this is the other thing I wanted to talk about. So this came out because it has the songs off Busted. So when Busted came out, this came out, and I think I have a picture of it somewhere here. Just in case anybody knows, that was the one that was always at the video store, the VHS. I never had. Did I have this VHS? No, I never had the VHS store bought. I dubbed it off. I double taped it off of renting it, and then I had it on DVD. And then do I have it on DVD right now? No, I don't. I don't currently have it. You can stream it. It's not super hard to find. But here again, music by Cheap Trick. Anyways, so this had come out, and we were at, I want to say, I can't remember which record store it was. I want to say it was the Record Barn, but I'm not sure. I was at Lakeside Mall with my mom, and it was 1990-ish, somewhere around there. And I remember it was $19.99, which again was crazy. My mom was pretty cheap. I mean, she was cheap. She didn't have a lot of money. But, she rarely bought me anything that often, except for clothes. That's about the only thing she'd buy me. But she ended up, this is right about, she bought me a bass drum for my drum set, all like out of nowhere too, which is weird. And it was a Ludwig too, and the reason I wanted the Ludwig is because Neil Peart at the time was playing Ludwigs, and Bunny Carlos was playing a Ludwig set. But anyways, I got this cassette tape, and it was this VHS, and it was all of their videos from MTV, and then it had some of had stuff from Live at Budokan, had the Dream Police video, Voices video. And so I currently don't have this on VHS, because I don't even own a VHS player. I don't know if it came out on DVD. It might have. I don't know. But this, a couple of VHSs at the time, through high school, I destroyed. I wore out completely. One was the Show of Hands Rush video, which was the concert from, I think it was in Edmonton, which was that taping, or maybe, I don't know if it was Edmonton. But it was the same. It was the Hold Your Fire tour. It was the first one I went to. I got to do a Rush video too, so I'll get into that on the Rush video. But yeah, I got that tape, and I wore this tape out. I mean, literally wore this tape out, and I wore out the Show of Hands tape. I mean, I'm sure they still kind of worked towards the end, but I don't. They ended up probably in a bunch of VHS tapes, and then went bye-bye, went somewhere. But yeah, and like I said, I found it here on. It's on YouTube. You can get it here. It's. I think you can just look up. The name of it was Every Trick in the Book. Look up Cheap Trick, Every Trick in the Book, VHS or video, and it should pop up the VHS here, and it should be broken up by songs. So it had like Into Love, or sorry, Can't Stop Falling Into Love, Wherever Would I Be. I believe those are the two songs off of Busted. Never Had a Lot to Lose. Never Had a Lot to Lose. Is that on Busted or is that on Lap of Luxury? I can't remember. Ghost Town's on Lap of Luxury. And then Don't Be Cruel, the Elvis cover. And then The Flame, obviously, that's on there. And then I go back a little bit farther, like the Doctor with It's Only, not the Doctor. Is it the Doctor? Yeah, I think it's the Doctor. It's Only You. Tonight It's You, I Can't Take It, If You Want My Love, You Got It, or Want My Love, If You Want My Love, You Got It. That's a great video. Again, I'm not going to play any of these, but She's Tight's on there. It's funny. It's a funny video too. I Want You to Want Me, that's the Live at Budokan. They've got Ain't That a Shame, which is Ain't That a Shame. I don't know who originally did that. Was it Elvis again? I can't remember. But they did this as a cover, and I think this is on the Ed Sullivan Show. I believe it's the Ed Sullivan Show. It's pretty cool. They like bands playing, and then Robin Zander comes out, and they break into it. It's really neat. He had like all the checkered everything, black and white checkered everything. Dream Police, Way of the World, Voices, and Main Street. So also, watching Rick Nielsen, go Rick Nielsen crazy like he did, I really wanted to play the guitar at this time. And I didn't get a guitar, but I remember going to the music box on Van Dyke, and I was like, I'm going to go look for a guitar, but I want a Rick Nielsen guitar. I want some crazy over the top. I want like a Gibson Explorer, and they had some guitars that were kind of like his, but one that caught my eye. I was on this guitar stand. I was sitting on the counter on the guitar stand. Or sorry, the guitar stand was sitting on the counter, like in the corner. They had at that time they had like kind of a wraparound front register, and it was sitting there. And it had like a little Marshall amplifier on like a amplifier stand. And I was like, oh, that's all I need. That's perfect. And the guitar was a yellow Gibson Les Paul. I don't know if it was a studio per se. I think I've seen it again, and I don't know what year it came out, but it didn't have a pick guard. Like a Les Paul's got, the Les Paul's got a lot of that stuff on it. It was a pretty bare bones body. It didn't have a pick guard. I don't even know if it had the regular humbucker pickups. It might have had like the DiMarzio pickups in it. It might have been. I know it was used. I don't know if it was a Frankenstein guitar or what it was. But it was there, and I was like, oh, that's a total Rick Nielsen guitar. It was a Les Paul, and it was all yellow, like a bright banana yellow, and I thought, oh, that'd be cool. And they had a black and white checkered strap there, and I was like, oh, I get the black and white checkered strap. I could totally be Rick Nielsen. So I ended up asking the guy how much it was, and I think it was used, and it was like $400. And it was a Les Paul. It was a Gibson Les Paul. It wasn't an Epiphone. And it was like $400 or some dollars used, and I'm like, oh. And I was like, oh, I really like that guitar. It's totally a Rick Nielsen guitar. And he's like, yeah, it is. It is a Rick Nielsen guitar. I said, yeah, I wanted to get the checkered strap. He goes, there you go. He says, you want to save up for it? And I said, yeah. He goes, we do have layaway. And I was like, oh, I know. I ran into that. Everything I've ever put on layaway, I've never actually bought. I've always went back like 2 or 3 months later after I got like $50, $60 and someone just want my money back because I saw something else I want, because I lost my interest in it, because I didn't get it that day. I lost my interest in it, and I wanted the money for something that I wanted at that day because I had no patience. It's funny, my son's a lot better than I am, but as a kid, I had zero patience. I was extremely impulsive. I'm sure there was probably, if you were to put me on, it was probably on, I didn't really exist back then, but I was probably on the autistic spectrum then. I couldn't read. I had a lot of, we weren't rich. We lived in a trailer. I had a lot of strikes against me as a kid, and I was a spaz, and I was not, I mean, I had friends, but I was not a really liked kid. And rightfully so. I act like I couldn't keep my mind. Some of my friends didn't want to play with me anymore because I couldn't keep my mind. I couldn't stay into one thing. It's all over the place. I tried to do. I did all these things. I got really good with money because of my dad, as far as like making money and trying to find some scheme to get what I want. But layaway, I tried it like 3 or 4 times prior to that on other things, and it never worked because I couldn't. If I didn't get it that day or shortly thereafter, I lost interest in it and didn't want it again. And that's what happened with that. I couldn't get that guitar. I mean, even if I was because I think the next year I started working an actual real job. At A&W, I probably could have afforded it at some point, but I couldn't wait. I had no patience, so I couldn't wait that long. And of course, then I fell out of interest with wanting to play the guitar, and then that's right about the time I wanted to play the bass, and then it's when I borrowed the basses, and then of course I went through this period again because of Bunny Carlos and Neil Peart. I wanted to play the drums, and there was a drum store that had called the Drum Shop, and they had like that jam night, and you could take lessons there, and that's where I got a lot of the drums that I got were from there. And I bought just a snare drum, and I just tried to play a snare drum, and it was too loud for the trailer. I put the dampener on it, still kind of loud. I bought a hi-hat cymbal with camber hi-hats, and I tried to learn the drum beats, and I would just tap my foot on the floor because I had no bass drum. And then eventually, like I said, my mom, just all of a sudden, she's like, I was going there for lessons. And this is the other thing that's creepy, my mom, like I said, she wasn't remarried at this time. And it really got on my nerves. Everywhere I went, whether it was hockey practice, whether it was the drum store, whether it was anywhere I go, if there was like dudes there, like older than me, adult dudes there, like in their 30s, because my mom at the time was 86. She turned 40 in 86, so she was in her early 40s. So yeah, if there was dudes right in their 30s or 40s, my mom was like all like, she's like, she was looking for a husband like mad, and she was going through boyfriends, quicker than I was probably going through interests. And she every time we went anywhere, she's like, oh, well, those guys at the, she just acted weird when we were there. And then she was like totally different person. Like, she'd be yelling and screaming and smacking me and getting mad no matter what I did. But at the same time, we go into public and she like put on the show, and it was just, got on my nerves. But she just out of the blue, she's like, oh, I'm going to get him this bass drum. They had a used bass drum for like $80. I was like, that's a lot of money for my mom to be shelling out. She bought a $20 videotape, an $80 drum. It was just peculiar. It was just like, okay. And so she bought this bass drum, and then I don't know how she put up with that too. It's like, she used to get mad at me for doing anything wrong or getting us in trouble or whatever, but it's like she didn't mind me playing these drums in a trailer that was clearly too loud for a trailer, with all the complaints we got for the noise, which is part of the reason that, and I just lost interest in it. I ended up getting most of the rest of the drum set, not a 5-piece, but I got a 4-piece, and then, which is kind of like Bunny Carlos had, and then and then it went to my dad's, and it went out to that one friend of mine, and we, and then from there it just got sold off. And out of all those instruments, like I said, I never really got into the guitar because I never got one. I did end up getting a guitar, but it wasn't until into the 90s. And I wanted to give guitar another shot. And the thing is, here's the thing. Everybody says, about, if you are a frustrated guitar player or you can't play a guitar player, they always switch to bass. That's me. I wanted to play guitar. It was too hard for me. I just couldn't do it. So I switched to the. I mean, I love the bass, and I love the bass sound, and like I said, a lot of like Geddy Lee and Chris Squire. I loved all that, but really, at the core of it was the guitar is too hard for me, so I wanted to switch to the bass. And then even the drums were too difficult for me. I couldn't do the drums very well, so I kind of landed on the bass because it was the only instrument I could play song. I could actually play a song all the way through because you're just do 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 do, and then eventually you got to learn fifths and the thirds and move around and stuff like that. And I'm still a lazy bass player today. I like to know the chords of the song, and I'll play through just the chords of the song, and I'll match them up with the lyrics, and I'll try to sing it at the same time, which I can pretty much do, although I have a shitty voice. And then I'll learn the fills, or I'll learn my interpretation of the fills and put some accents in there as I see fit. But I do usually never go note for note whatever the original, even if it's a simple song. I kind of change it and do whatever I want to do. I still do that today. So, so yeah, back to Cheap Trick here. So they became, again, like I said, one of my favorite bands. And they still are today. There's their catalog again. It's not that I forgot about them, but, after Busted, I kind of, in 1990, I was kind of, okay, well, I think they had come around again, and I saw them, they headlined at Pine Knob, and Foghat opened up for them. I remember seeing that show. I saw them again at the Palace, I think for the Busted tour. That one friend where the drum set ended up, that older kid, he ended up taking me to that. And then I saw them, I think the last time I saw them was in like 2004, 2005, when my other friend was taking me, and we were going to like every concert you can think of in like the mid 2000s when I was in college. And one of them was Cheap Trick down at the State Theater, and that was a great show. I mean, they were older at the time, but that was a great show. I just thought Rick Nielsen was hilarious at that show because he was like playing, and all of a sudden his guitar crapped out, and he got pissed. You could see he just got pissed. And he's a funny guy too. If you ever listen, he's very funny. He's almost like a comedian, and he's like, the band's playing, and his guitar's working. He goes, "Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight." He goes, "I want to thank my crew, especially my guitar tech, who happens to only live about 3 miles from here, and we had to fly in. We just got in here, and he had plenty of time in the world to get my guitar set up. I want to thank him." But he didn't. Just thought that was hilarious. My sense of humor. So anyways, I saw that show. I think that's the last time I saw them live. It was like 2004, 2005. But they ended up coming out with this album, which is weird, and this was 94, so it's not far after Busted. I had gotten out of the Army yet. I think it came out while I was in the Army. But I remember getting the album like in like 95, 96. Or I bought the album when I came back from the Army. And then I just remember like 85. I remember when I worked at that medical lab in the midnight shifts at the medical lab, and like towards the late 90s. I brought it and listened to it a lot. There was the Woke Up With a Monster, I think, is the single album. Woke Up With a Monster. It's an okay album. It's not great. It's just okay. It was 94, and I think they've come out with an album since then, haven't they? Again, I haven't really kept up with them as far as their new stuff. I don't keep up with many of the new bands' stuff just because I don't know. I don't like the way it sounds. All Shook Up. That's 80. Let's see. That's 80. Oh, what else do we got here? It's hard to tell because a lot of these are all, compilations and whatnot. 2020. It's a collection. Live album. I can't tell if they had an album after that. A studio album is what I'm saying, not a compilation, not a live album. I'm not seeing one, but I could be wrong. Oh, that's Sgt. Pepper's Live. It's a live version of Sgt. Pepper's. They're big Beatles guys. Beatles and Elvis. I mean, rock and roll. I mean, here's the thing. Cheap Trick is and I think they've been called this before, and I would totally call them that. Cheap Trick is the ultimate party band. Like, if there was the ultimate party band, like, you wanted to have the party of all parties, people, it's like, hey, I want to get Van Halen to play at my birthday party, like in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. No. If you wanted to have the party, it would be Cheap Trick. Cheap Trick, like I said, they're awesome. Oh, it reminds me, I did see them again in Detroit. So I'm in Hart Plaza. I think I saw them in Hart Plaza, too. They did an outdoor concert too, so I've seen them a few times. But no, Cheap Trick was like the ultimate party band. It's like they're straight up rock and roll. Like I said, they're most of their influences are the Beatles and Elvis. And I love Rick Nielsen's guitar playing because he is a master, but he's not overly showy. He's not. I mean, he'll play, he does his solos and stuff. He plays a lot of solos with slides and stuff. He kind of goes all over the place with stuff. And he's, but he's a character. He's like a comic book character. He's like larger than life. A guy that's going to get the guitar made of himself, and he already looks like a character already, and then you got this character guitar. I mean, I like that. And that's what kind of, I kind of glommed onto them, is because they're like comic book characters to me. Just like Kiss are like comic book characters. Cheap Trick were comic book characters. Bunny Carlos, he looks like Mr. Cyrus, my world history teacher from 9th grade. It looks just like him. That's actually when I rediscovered him, like, when is Mr. Cyrus the drummer for my history teacher for Cheap Trick. So yeah, like I said, and here's the thing. I mean, they regardless if they aren't, which I guess they got kind of douchey with Buddy Carlos. I don't got going to get into the controversy with them, kind of like towards like in the last 10 years controversy. But what do you call it? They just seem like nice guys. They seem like nice guys. That sounds weird. They just don't look like douchebags. They look like, I mean, they're all kind of nerdy, in some regards. So I don't know, they just seem like people that, aren't going to want to kick your ass, or that, or I don't know, just, they don't look like douchebags. And they didn't seem like douchebags. And they're cool, too. And they're like really cool. Like, as in, like, like they wrote the book on cool. I mean, Robin Zander was a pretty cool front man. Or still is, but I mean, they're old now. But, yeah, I just thought they were cool. They were different. They were offbeat. Like Devo or any other band. They weren't, they had commercial success with The Flame. I mean, and they'd been around since the 70s. And I said most people knew who they were, except for nobody at my high school, because they weren't cool enough. Yeah, they were just a cool band. And it's funny, a lot of those people in high school now, I'm sure they know who Cheap Trick is now. It's just like, how did you guys not know this in 1988? It's like they had albums out. Now, granted, I didn't know about them. I mean, I knew about them, but I didn't rediscover them until 1988. But I knew of them because I had tapes from 83. And I saw them at the Kiss concert and didn't even know it in 79. So, yeah. So that's my Cheap Trick, love of Cheap Trick. So like I said, I'll probably do these videos where I'll go off about a band I like. I'll show you real quick. We'll just blop in here. I've got most of my favorite albums in my library. But we'll do... we sort of did Iron Maiden. I did some of the Iron Maiden albums. I guess maybe I didn't give it a nice, good Iron Maiden deep dive, but I will at some point. I haven't gone into Yes much either. And then I definitely haven't done a Rush one. And Rush is, like I said, they're right around there, as far as I would say Rush is probably my favorite band of all time, but I guess I don't really have a favorite band of all. And I got lots of stories. There's the show of hands. Lots of stories with Rush. A lot of Rush stories. And then, of course, I sort of did some Blue Oyster Cult, but I always do a deep dive on Blue Oyster Cult. I'll do a Tangerine Dream album at some time, but I know it's going to get like 5 views. Nobody knows who Tangerine Dream is. But I should do that at some point. I could do a Journey one easily. A Police. There's another band. Again, another offbeat kind of classic band that have a completely unique sound. Here's the thing. I mean, Kiss, even though that, a lot of times stuff sounds like Rod Stewart, sometimes the stuff sounds like Led Zeppelin, but Kiss still sounds like Kiss. Journey sounds like Journey. Rush sounds like Rush. Yes sounds like Yes. Even Rush, when they were pretty much doing the Led Zeppelin thing as well, they still sounded like Rush, and they grew into their own very quickly. Blue Oyster Cult definitely sounds like Blue Oyster Cult. Nobody other. A Hawkwind. I could do another three view video. It was my Hawkwind love of Hawkwind and my discovery of them. They sound like Hawkwind. All the bands that I like for the most part do not sound like derivatives of each other. They all are these unique bands. And listening to like Iron Maiden and then listening to the Police, they couldn't be any farther apart. Or Kiss and the Police, or I don't know. You pick an album off here, everything sounds different. I'm not a huge Megadeth fan, but I've got Rust in Peace there because I had it, and I also had Peace Sells, but Who's Buying? That was kind of like during the time I wanted to get into guitar in the '90s. I got those albums. And I was like, I'm going to go do a deep dive on heavy metal, classic heavy metal. It wasn't classic at the time. It was still pretty new. This was 1990. This was right around 92 when I decided to do that deep dive. And it just didn't. I did that really cool Hohner Steinberger guitar, which I love. That's the first real guitar that I owned. And I wish I never got rid of it. It's such a great guitar. But yeah, Yes, Maiden... Dio, Blue Oyster Cult, Hawkwind, Pink Floyd. There's a band too from the 2005, Wolfmother. Really got into them. I know they had a second album, but I didn't. I was really into this album, but anyways, regardless, I'll do I'm gonna do probably a video for my main favorite bands like Rush and Yes and and that stuff. Like I said, I've got the Kiss, and now we've got Cheap Trick. Like I said, if you guys like these and want me to do more about the music, put it in the comments. I've gotten some comments. Again, I got a new Kiss one. I did Rock and Roll Over, and I had that up. I posted that yesterday. I haven't checked it, but it's not really taken off, and I knew this was going to happen. It's like I got 900 views on my first Kiss video. And watch my Kiss, I'll do Kiss Rock and Roll Over, and I'll get like 20 or 40. Why do I have 900 on the first one? What secret sauce, what lightning in a bottle did I do in that video, which got so many people's attention? Did it end up somewhere in the algorithm that shot everywhere? But then you would think, and I got a few subscribers out of it. You would think maybe now they're going to get this, it's going to come up, you think they could watch it, but maybe that's not enough. I don't know. It's weird. This video, Cheap Trick, I don't know how many views it's going to get either. Again, you're probably all going to be like my fellow high school students and be like, who? Cheap who? I don't know. It's weird. I can't ever predict what people are going to do. Whether even with my business and my art and my comic books and stuff, it's just so I have no idea what. And I thought I had ADD, or ADHD, yeah, ADHD and D. Yes. I go from playing from one role-playing game to the next. ADHD and D. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's hard to read people, and when you think that you got something, it's like it's a fart in the wind, And then when you totally think you got a fart in the wind, suddenly it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Sliced farts on bread in the wind. That should be a song. That should be an album. All we are saying. I don't won't go that route. But anyways, yeah, like I said, like this video, subscribe it. Again, likes help me out, I think, more than subscribing, although subscribing gets me closer to being monetized. So do both. Doesn't cost you a penny. Again, I said I was going to do my pitch for that in the beginning of the videos, and it seems like I always forget about it until the very end, as I'm crouching in on an hour, which I just turned over an hour. So, alright, I will catch you in tomorrow's video. Don't know what it's going to be. Opus Eponymous will be here soon. Probably probably going to get the Ace Frehley solo album this week, and so that'll be coming up soon. Again, I'll probably do a Rush video. I only own 2 Rush albums right now. Had them all. I'll get into my Rush insanity in the Rush video, but yeah. So I just wanted to point out there's Lap of Luxury. There's Dream Police. Those are the 2 ones that I have. I'll end up getting more hopefully as I find them. And add to the collection. And this time, like I said, not getting rid of any of these albums. They're staying with me forever, or my son's gonna get them. So I'm not gonna go through this all over again. Especially at like 70 years old, I'm not gonna be going out looking for albums that I had again and again, which is my ex-father-in-law's doing right now. He's trying to get albums that he had or wanted when he was younger. He's in the 70s. But alright, I'll let you guys go, and I'll catch you on the next video. Until then, have a good rest of the day, and subscribe, like, do all that stuff. Alright, bye-bye.